Thank you very much. I don't know if you can hear me very well. Yes, we can. Mr. Chairman, members of the organization committee, dear guests, dear colleagues from road safety colleagues from Poland and abroad, it's difficult actually to discuss the whole thing in 10 minutes, everything that we're planning by 2030. So I will just try to present a general outline. And also, I would like to indicate the subjects related to the summary of 2013-2020. 2020 is the last year of the fourth National Road Safety Program. I'm referring here to the presentation of Ms. Dean. That was my predecessor. So this is where we're going to look at the fulfillment of the original assumptions of the program. Moving on, I'd like to remind you a few things about the previous road safety program. As we all know, in 2013, the assumption was to reduce the main indicators at the level of 50%. We wanted to reduce the number of fatalities by 50% until 2020 and serious injuries by 40% by 2020. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the last year of this National Road Safety Program. And as we all know, the final data for 2020 will be presented in the second half of February 2021. So already today we can see certain trends which allow us to scale or new road safety ratios for the period ending 2030. As for the barometer, because the National Road Safety Council is going to take into account when planning the ratios, but also when planning the measures which are going to improve road safety in those most serious or most difficult areas, such as excessive speed or pedestrian protection. And you're going to be talking in great detail about pedestrian protection. But let me show you a slide that shows you what we call the barometer for achievement of the goals of the National Road Safety Program 2013-2020. As you see, I have to, unfortunately, confirm the thesis that the biggest problem over the past 7 years was the issue of small progress in terms of serious injury. It was only in 2018, as you can see from the slide, that we call the road safety barometer, that we were able to go below 11,000 serious injuries. Up until 2018, it was 11,000 every year. And we all know very well that serious injuries are related to tremendous losses, not just mental, traumatic, but also in terms of money, losses for the Polish state and losses involved in returning the seriously injured people back to society to to being able to fully function. Now, the partial goal in terms of fatalities was exceeded by 36% compared to the assumed goal that we assumed originally in 2010. But in terms of serious injuries, it was higher by 46%, which when we reported to the government and parliament, the goals were not achievable and not achieved. But looking at the considerable improvement of road safety also elsewhere in Europe related, for instance, to lockdown, which are not strictly directed to our activities, but related to the general activities leading to tackling of pandemic. But this also translated, however, into the reduction of the number of road accidents. As you can see, the deviation for Europe as a whole, Mr. Antonio Avenoso will also be probably discussing that, but indeed the goals from 2010 are not achievable. The question is, what do we do now? in terms of what goals are we going to set ourselves and what measures we're going to undertake for the global ratios to be achievable by 2030. So first and foremost, adopting programs and the entire architecture of the National Road Safety Program. Let me remind you that the Council, Road Safety Council, is still functioning under the provisions of the current Road Safety Program. So we're still fulfilling the original principles, and they were materialized in adopting the implementation program for 2020. So obviously you can have access to this document, but next slide, please. One more, please. Thank you. The National Road Safety Council adopted this last in the sequence of annual programs. These include 29 integrated measures under every pillar of road safety, which are currently under implementation. Can you hear me? Okay, then. So we do not only plan for the new next program, but also are finalizing the previous edition. For instance, we are analyzing the reasons why we failed to achieve the main goals in reducing fatalities and serious injuries. This diagnosis is going to be also undertaken when we present the new road safety program, and we're going to draw conclusions from the old one. Also, we've already had the preliminary conclusions in 2017 when the National Council for Road Safety evaluated the entire road safety program and published it as a document. You can see that document mentioned in the slide. We suggested reevaluating the goals and changing the measures. Now, this will probably be confirmed later by Director Antonio Venosa, but the proposed goals for Poland, resulting also from the documents signed by Poland, such as Valette Declaration of 2017, but also the Decade for Road Safety and the Stockholm Declaration that was adopted in February 2020. These all point out to the most important recommended goals. First one is to have 50% progress in fatalities by 2030 and the reduction of serious injuries also by 50% by 2030. We have to be ambitious. We have to take ambitious goals, and these goals are proposed for Poland as well. Also in the documents of the European Commission, these goals were indicated, including the areas for intervention. The road safety program for the next 10 years will definitely be correlating, and it will be harmonized with the European and global assumptions. But definitely we are going to be moving in areas that are very well known to you. We're going to be dealing with cluster actions. We're going to invest in safe road infrastructure. So we're going to look at everything that surrounds the actual road. And there's a lot of work to be done, not only in terms of traffic intensity, but also in terms of reducing risk factors, reducing risk accident probability. When we look at the progress in road safety in this area, it was quite well achieved from the point of view of reducing the number of accidents. This shows that how effectively modernized road infrastructures can reduce the risk or liquidate the risk of road accident. It shows us how safe road infrastructure can affect road safety, among other by reducing the dangerous behavior of road users, which is a typical issue in Poland. But also, it is important to create standardization tools. The structural solutions which are getting road users, drivers especially, to get used to certain solutions in road haste, the ones that we use and we want to implement, because we want to have the highest possible standards of road safety in our roads. But also, we're looking at actions aimed at educating road users, spreading knowledge, starting with children, but continuing with adults, telling them how to safely behave in traffic. This is a massive task to be done in Poland that we do systemically by carrying out specific tasks that we'll be telling you about in September. Another thing is measures related to post-accident rescue and care. We have adopted in 2018 road life corridors, which was a recommended format, and this was helpful in effectively reaching victims of traffic incidents quickly. That has a strong impact on the ability to save a lot of lives, especially in case of serious injury. We're looking also at some measures aiming at improving the post-accident care. Now, of course, one must not forget what is and what should and is being done in terms of support and intensification of traffic supervision in any form that it's done. What's important is that we are facing some technological change which assists road supervision services to exercise some control and monitor traffic hazards. This is very important in terms of accident prevention. These activities are going to focus on that area also in the new National Road Safety. Once again, let me remind you, the new plan will be for 2021-2030. The fifth National Road Safety Plan program. All of those elements that you see, safe speed, safe behavior, safe infrastructure, safe vehicles, rescue and care system, these are the main areas that will be supported. The empty clusters are the next elements which we will want to fill up. There will be new challenges and new threats, but also related to new areas that will emerge due to the development of technology. But also technology will be able to support us in ensuring safety. Next slide, please. These are some examples of concrete actions in terms of creating a certain standard, of following certain guidelines, which are already in operation in Poland. And these examples have measurable effect in terms of reducing road hazard, especially for pedestrians. Here I'm just showing how the lighting guidelines adopted by the Minister of Infrastructure and built by supported by the National Council, especially in the area of pedestrian crossings and approach zones next to pedestrian crossing, are of key importance for the safety of pedestrian in terms of the interaction between the pedestrian and the driver, especially in Poland at times of autumn and winter, because we do know that lighting is fundamental for the perception of the driver. They also make it so much easier to notice threats by other traffic participants.
This is why our work will also be geared towards improving infrastructure and ensuring safe infrastructure, where we hope the standards will keep improving. But to reach this, we need a lot of investments in Poland, but not just centrally, locally and regionally. This is just as important to go hand in hand with other road projects. And these are the mechanisms we will be supporting when we have this dedicated financial instrument, which is for the next 10 years, it's 36 billion zlotys, and that's dedicated to improving local infrastructure. What we mustn't forget is that infrastructure, well, as much as it is important, it's also about education and changing mentality, which is a very tall order. It's important to change that awareness, and it's about prevention through education, and it's also about encouraging the services to be kept up to date. They need some encouragement to design, to introduce, manage, but it's also about keeping track of the hazards. Director, please, you're running out of time. So, for example, regional road authorities, where they can improve the lighting or improve local infrastructure, which is really important for reducing the traffic hazards. Plus, we have support from the EU for training. And there are some deficits in terms of knowledge, so we will be working on that. And so road traffic engineering is an important part of education. You've already highlighted the main hazards, but demographics is really important, not just in Europe as a whole, but in Poland. And my last slide, please. So we now have more and more road users who are 60 plus, and that's increasingly clear in the accident statistics. And so 60 plus, because we are aging as society, this is a natural process. Nothing can be done to stop this. But what we need to do is to have dedicated measures targeting 60 plus road users. There are more and more of them, and in the next decades, that number is going to grow, not just here, but globally. And that's another challenge for our National Council. So we need to think in advance about activities. Here's a project which we launched in 2017 as the National Road Safety Council, because we attach a lot of weight to education that's targeting not just young children, but also the 60-plus road users. It's important to change people's awareness. Thank you very much, and sorry for overrunning.